Mixed with a standard ratio of 1 part vermouth to 4 parts gin, the martini is a cultural institution.
Just a drink. A martini, shaken, not stirred.
It's also a topic of much contention amongst aficionados. Not only is the perfectly made martini a godly feat, it is also surrounded by myths.
That's the trouble with the world today. No one takes the time to do a really sinister interrogation anymore. It's a lost art.
Let's clear some of them up.
So a martini is made from gin and dry vermouth. That's it.
Vermouth was first created in Turin, Italy. It is a botanically flavored, fortified wine. Remember that it's perishable,
So make sure to refrigerate it.
Gin classifies a broad range of spirit, flavored with juniper berries. The exact origin of the martini is unclear, with multiple bars, towns, and 19th century cocktail manuals claiming the creator title. What is clear is that the martini was popularized during the Prohibition era. Availability also influenced the evolution of the drink. While a Prohibition-era martini was mixed with a typical ratio of 2:1 London dry gin to vermouth, martinis of the 30s and 40s were more alcoholic, mixed with ratios of 3 or 4:1. Nowadays, ratios of 5:1, 8:1, or even 50:1 are considered normal. There are 3 common garnishes for a martini: olives, twist of lemon, and cocktail onions. When garnishing with cocktail onions, a martini is called a Gibson. We'll get into other types of martinis shortly, but first,
I want the truth.
James, you're hurting me!
I'll do worse than that if you don't tell me.
Now, here's another one of the places where people get confused about martini. It's the dilemma of shaken versus stirred. Classic Bond dilemma.
Shaken, not stirred.
Shaken, not stirred.
Shaken, not stirred.
Shaken, not stirred.
So what is the difference, actually? And why would one shake as opposed to stir, or stir opposed to shake?
the most important distinction has to do with dilution. By shaking a martini, ice is crushed into the shaker, providing for more surface area for melt when compared to stirring. Some prefer this larger portion of water and even seek out ice chunks in their martinis. Water isn't the only thing that dilutes a shaken martini though. Air bubbles are forced into the beverage during the shaking process. This is called bruising, and it makes the drink sharper. Despite what many believe, a stirred martini can reach the same temperature as a shaken one. The proper name for a shaken martini is a Bradford.
Shaken or stirred? Do I look like I give a damn?
You should. It makes a difference.
A lot of people think that martinis are somehow this really girly drink. I don't know why it's got that reputation. Part of the reason I feel like could be that it's served in a bit of a prissy glass.
But if you consider drinks that are sweet and have weak strength girly, a classic martini doesn't fit the bill. Teeny drinks like apple teenies, espresso martinis, chocolate martinis are named after the martini cocktail glass they use, and generally contain vodka. Next, what's happening when the bartender fills the glass with ice water? If the martini glass is not kept chilled, this is one way to cool it down. The best bartenders will do everything in their power to serve a martini that is and will stay chilled.
Dry martini.
Oui, monsieur.
Wait. 3 measures of Gordon's, 1 of vodka, half a measure of quinoa lily, shake it over ice, and then add a thin slice of lemon peel.
There are myriads of martini variations and plenty of terminology to accompany them. Here are the basics.
So what's the difference between a dry and a wet martini? Well, it's pretty easy, and it all has to do with how much vermouth is used.
Martinis with more vermouth are considered wet, while ones with less vermouth are considered dry, the line being a ratio of about 1:4. So the early martinis described previously would be considered wet, and the drink over time has become progressively drier. Adding vermouth to a particularly dry martini can be done simply by rimming the glass, or, in the extreme case, as Noel Coward said, waving it in the general direction of Italy. A bone-dry martini is one without any vermouth.
What's the difference between a regular and a dirty martini? A dirty martini uses some of the brine or olive juice, at least a teaspoon, to be qualified as dirty, whereas a regular one just doesn't.
In terms of flavor, a dirty martini masks some of the alcohol taste and is characterized by a mild, salty sourness.
Up versus on the rocks.
Vodka martini. Plenty of ice, if you can spare it.
You can order a martini on the rocks. It's a drink that you don't want to dilute.
But it's meant to be drank cold too, and depending on the pace with which you drink, ice can help with that. Some martini drinkers will order their ice on the side.
There's the gin martini, and then there's the vodka martini.
For the gentleman, vodka martini, shaken, not stirred.
Originally, gin was the liquor that was used to make this type of cocktail. It was only later, when vodka became cheaper and more available after Prohibition, that it was used for martinis. So I'm sure at bars you've heard or read on menus of a perfect martini, and I think there's a lot of confusion around that term. To put the kibosh on it, perfect martini is a martini that is made with equal parts sweet and dry vermouth with the same amount of gin that you would typically use. A 50-50 martini is a martini that uses an equal amount of gin to dry vermouth. The last little curveball in terms of different spins on martini would be the upside down or the reverse martini. These are a little bit bizarre because they use more vermouth than they do gin.
Now that you know the basics of martinis, I'll leave you with some tips to apply to your favorite recipe. Here, I'll be mixing a dirty, dry martini with a 1:6 ratio of vermouth to gin. The focus should be on keeping things both chilled and undiluted. Melted ice is a part of the drink, but a traditional martini seeks as little water as possible. To accomplish this, keep all items chilled or in the freezer up until the moment you use them.
3 measures of my gin.
Measure your drink scientifically. Do not introduce ice until you're done measuring into your shaker or glass. This makes for less melt.
Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the ice.
Fill the shaker to the top with ice. Regarding the dilution focus, this may seem a bit counterintuitive, but filling the shaker to the brim keeps all materials colder, also making for less melt. I prefer a stirred martini, not a shaken one.
I've just retrieved my glass from the freezer. Again, I have taken it out at the last possible minute so that it stays cold. We do have that great clarity in the pour. It's completely clear. We see that there aren't very many air bubbles. And there we have it.
As you might now understand, the martini is more a genre than a recipe. Martini mixology is a polarizing topic. People are both defensive and aggressive about their preferred type, and the argument is literally alcohol-fueled. There are 1,000 ways to make a martini. Just make the one you like and enjoy it. How do you like to mix your martini? Am I totally off base with my guidance? Let me know in the comments.